So today we want to look at classes and constructors. Now, a class is like a blueprint. In fact, a class is actually a blueprint that you use to create objects. I come again. A class is a blueprint used to create objects. Now, imagine a class, or I love to liken it to a building plan. So, a building plan is a blueprint that you use to create buildings, right?
Yes, sir.
So, same way, a class is it's actually a blueprint, more like a building plan that you use to create objects. Now, if you create many buildings from the same building plan, they will look alike in some aspects.
Yes, sir.
Same way also, when you create many objects from the same class, they will look alike in some aspects.
Yes, sir.
Now, the essence of a building plan is to create building. The building plan in itself is not so useful. The essence of a building plan is for us to create a building out of it. Same way also, a class in itself is not so useful. The essence of creating a class is for you to create an object out of it. Do you get it, sir?
Okay, sir.
So a class will give you the shape. A class is just like shape paper mache. Secondary school. Kí lẹ sọ?
It's been long, bro.
Ẹ̀bùn pípẹ́ wà ṣe máa ń ṣe nìyẹn tẹ́ máa mú pépà tẹ́ máa fi fọ́ọ̀mù ṣe bóyá kọ́ọ̀pù báyìí ni mo fẹ́ ṣe. Màá wá mú pépà yẹn, màá wá fi báwo yẹn sọ, mo máa mú kọ́ọ̀pù yẹn, màá wá fi ṣe kí ni. So at the end of the day, the paper will take the shape of whatever you use to create it.
Yes.
Same way also, you have a class that be couple gone. The objects now look like the paper mache. So the object will take the shape of the class. Do you understand? Object might take a shape class one. It will look like our class. So let's say how to create a class in JavaScript. We use the word class. Then the name of your class, I can call it maybe car. Most times you use a class when you create a class when you realize that I need to create many objects or many similar objects. So you bring in a class. So instead of doing them one after the other, a class will make it easier for you to create. So you can call it class car, you can call it class house, you can call it class building, the name of your class. Now you start the name of classes with capital letters. Not compulsory, but that's how it should be. What the reason I said not compulsory is that you should put the small letter shell or my share. But really, a class name should start with an upper case. So after doing this, we put a curly braces. So what I have to class you put it inside this curly braces. Let's say I have a class called building. I want this to have maybe toilets. I want the toilet of the building to be 2. I'll set it to 2. I want the rooms to be, let's say, 4. I want bedroom maybe to be 1. Oh, bedroom is actually okay. Let's say bedroom is 1. Let's stop here. So this is our class, and I'm going to one in class 1. Now, any objects that you create out of this class will also look like this. Oh no, I need toilets 2, any rooms 4, add in bedroom 1. Do you understand?
Any object I create out of the class.
Yes. Remember I said that a class on its own could really be useful for just like a building plan on its own. So a class on its own is not so useful. We need to find a way to create an object out of this class. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
So we've created our class. Next is how then do we create objects out of our class? In order to do that, you come here and you create a variable. You can call it anything. You now say new building. You use this word new. New building. This word new, it will help us to create an object out of this class and it will assign that object to A. Do you understand? Okay. So this word new, some people write it like this. It will work with or without this here. It will work. So new building. So let's say console log A. You see that A will look like this building. But A will now be an object. A is not a class. This is the class. This is A is an object. So let's run it on the browser. So look at A. You say, oh no, do you understand? It's an object.
Yes, sir.
It's an object. But you can see this building here. This is trying to tell us that A is a type of building. Do you understand now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now I can say A dot toilet. And now we have 2. A dot rooms. And we have 4. If I want to create another object that looks like this also, I can come here and quickly create. So B also will look like this. So you see how easy it is now.
Yes, sir.
Now, A and B, they are separate entities. That means whatever happens to A will not affect B. Do you understand? They are separate entities. The only thing that will affect the two of them is whatever happens to this class will affect the two of them. But whatever happens to A will not affect B. What could that be? You have a building plan. You created a building. You created 2 buildings out of the building plan. Now, the 2 buildings are separate entities. Whatever happens to one building will not affect the second building. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
So they are separate entities. In fact, if I come here and say A dot rooms equals to 6, but to change the rooms AC 6, but that of B will still remain 4. Do you get it?
Yes.
Okay. If I say, let's say console log B dot rooms also. So we see the 2 now. 6, 4. Whatever happens to it will not affect B. A class can also have methods. Let's say display or greet visitors. So here is a method inside it. Whenever I call on this method, I can just say alert. Welcome to this one. Welcome to this building. So if I need to run this code, I'll say a.greet visitor or b.greet visitor to run this code. So let me remove this part. And this part. I just remove this and say a.greet visitor. And now we have this. Alert is legal though. Welcome to this building. Okay, let's move on. Any question so far?
No question.
Okay, check out this version. Next is something called THIS. Ó dàbí àti wọ̀ ọ̀rọ̀ eré àbí?
Yes.
Okay. Fẹ́ tu wọ̀ báyìí.
From constructor function.
And constructor function. Okay, let's look at it together. So whenever you are inside a method and you call on this, please, I want to lie to you. I want to lie to you. After lying to you, I will not tell you to say that later before the end of today's class. But I want you to believe this lie. Are we together? Are we on the same page now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now here is it. Whenever I'm inside a method and I call on this refers to the parent of that method, which is building. Do you understand?
Yes.
Whenever I'm inside the method and I call on this refers to the parent of that method, which is building. So if I say this dot BaitSum, let me create a new method to do that so that this one will still remain there. We can say set BaitSum, I can create a method called set BaitSum. So I can say this dot BaitSum equals to maybe 4. So this is like saying building dot BaitSum equals 4. Do you get it?
Yes.
So I want to ask you this question. If I say console log a dot BaitSum, what will I say?
Let's see. 4.
We will say 1. Remember, a method kò ní pé ra ẹ̀, ó dìgbà tá a bá pe method kó tó change ẹ̀ sí 4. But initially is 1. So when you check it out, you see 1. But when we now call on a dot set BaitSum, bàbá ṣe wá sọ pé console log a dot BaitSum again. Ilé àṣẹ wa change ẹ̀ sí 4. Ilé rẹ̀ mọ́ wá fún wa ní 4 because this line has changed it to 4. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
The caffeine results in. Let's move on. But remember I told you I wanted to lie, Abby?
Yes, sir.
Now let me now tell you the truth. Please pay attention.
Okay.
Remember I said when you call on this inside a method, this refers to the parent, which is this building, right?
Yes.
But that's not so. In fact, this refers, that's one of the corrections in my book, or you can make in a new way. That's JavaScript text with some of the back called revised edition. Yeah. This, although with that explanation, it's easy to understand how it works. It's easy. Okay, we'll refer to building. So this is like saying building dots, BaitSum, and it's for fine. But in the reasons of it, that's not how it really works at the background. This, when you inside a method and you call on this like this refers to the objects. Don't put method in. Do you understand? Now, what do I mean? If I say a dot new building, I've created an object out of building, right? And that object is a. If I now say a dot set BaitSum, method
Yes.
this here refers to a, not even to the class. This in this case, it refers to a ló ń pè. Do you understand?
Okay.
A ló ń pè. So a dot BaitSum làwọn set sí 4 títí a là ń pè. Meaning that if you get another object out of building, tí n bá ti pè títí tiẹ̀, that one will still be 1. You understand? So this here refers to that object, not the class itself.
Great.
Any question on that?
No questions, sir.
So that's the little clarification I want to make around that part. Now maybe you want this to be a parameterized function so that it needs to be flexible. If I want to set the button to 5, I can easily pass it. I can call it maybe new value or new button or button value, let's say. So instead of saying this, I'll say button value.
Button value.
So you can pass a value here. So if I put 7 in, I pass 7 to be back. So that of A will be 7. If I want, let's create another object for B. Let B equals to new building. I can say b.setButton. Mo lè pass on say, let's say 2. So it will be my get 2. Do you understand, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's move on. Now I want to talk about a special method called constructor. Constructor is a special method inside the class. Constructor. What makes a constructor to be different from other methods is that you don't need to call on a constructor before it calls on itself. Ẹni tó pè tó ń jẹ́ òun ni constructor. You don't need to call on it until the back way, right?
Yes.
So I'll come to this constructor and say console of hi. Let's have this. Now, if I want to see this code, normally, if it were to be other methods, I need to do something like this. A.constructor, right?
Yes.
But I won't even do this. And when you get to the browser, you will see the I. So kí ló ń ṣẹlẹ̀? How does it know when to even call on it? Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Now, this is it. A constructor is called upon whenever you want to create an object out of a class. It be by when you try to create an object at that point, when you are, in fact, the constructor is the one that is actually constructing the object out of the class. Even if your class does not have a constructor, if you don't put a constructor in your class, it has an inbuilt constructor. It is because it has an inbuilt constructor that makes it possible for your object to be created from the class. Do you understand? It is the constructor that is creating an object out of the class. So it is always called upon at this point. At that point, in fact, create the object jáde. It is at that point that the constructor is triggered. And whatever code you put here will be executed. It's a special function.
Okay.
So to buy a B now, let B equals to new building. So you will see that we see I twice. Because this, you are going to cluster one here. You're trying to consider that. In fact, even if it's just this new building, at that point, when you're trying to create an object, this is you creating an object out of a class. The only difference is that you are not assigning that object to a variable. Do you get it?
Yes, sir.
At this point, you are still creating an object out of the class. This new don't create objects in your, like is one that we use to create objects out of the class. The only difference is that we are not assigning that object to a variable. So objects that are created in line 28 are nearly too low. When you assign it to a variable, you'll be able to use that variable elsewhere.
Yes, sir.
But if you don't assign it to a variable, you won't be able to use it elsewhere. So that's just the only difference. But you still call on it again. So the constructor is called upon at the point when you are constructing an object out of a class. So let's now look at something interesting about this constructor. In this building, I don't want all the toilets to be 2. I don't want all the rooms to be 4. I don't want all the bedrooms to be 1. I want users to be able to set these things. So for a start, I will just cut all of these ones out of this place and bring them into the constructor. Let's start with this. Now note that constructor is actually a method, right? It's a method.
Yes.
This toilet is a local variable to this constructor, meaning I can use it just as though, just look at it, if I say name equals to Taye, I can't use this name elsewhere, right? You know, method
It can only work within the variables.
yes. But if I say this dot name, I'm assigning it to the objects. Do you understand?
Yes.
Objects, so you can use that, you're able to use it elsewhere. So same way also, by putting this, I can say this dot toilet, this dot oops, and this dot bedroom. Now this will give us the exact same thing we got the other time. I can say, because at this point, it will run all the codes here. Then it will assign 2 to the toilet, it will assign 4 to the rooms, it will assign 1 to the bedroom. Do you get it?
Yes.
So I can now come here and say console log a dot rooms. And I will have 4. But remember, I told you what you are about to do, or what you are trying to do, is for you to make these ones flexible. So that users, if you want your building to have 2 and the like. So what we will now do is we'll make this, since it's a method, we can make it a parameterized function. We can call it toilet value. Rooms value. Or let's just call it toilet room and the bedroom. Let's use this one as bedroom value. I want to use that to explain something. Now, the reason I'm doing this is I just want to make it clear that room is not the same as this one. The one here is the one you are passing in. Do you understand, sir?
Yes, sir.
This toilet is not the same as this one. This one can be any name. Whatever about one, right? A low and B. This one will be A. So we can change this one now back to bedroom. So since we've gotten that. So next is, how do we pass arguments to this constructor so that it can set it inside? To do that, you pass it here, right here. So value to map project toilet, I can pass maybe 2, 2 rooms, maybe 5, this is bedroom 1. Let's say I want to create another building model, I can value city here yàtọ̀. Eléyìí o, toilet la fẹ́ máa lò ṣáá. 10 rooms. Kò sí nǹkan tó kàn wá tàbá láti lè rí bí yàtọ̀ sí. Then bedroom. That's it. So for this one, it will be passed to this. Do you get it now? So if I say a dot rooms, that will be a dot rooms will be what now? 5. B dot rooms will be 1.
Yes.
So that is the constructor. Now, it may be a bit challenging trying to count the order, especially since they are all numbers. Technically, conject number, conject string, conject boolean, you can easily know it, but since they are all numbers, it may be a bit challenging. So you can pass an object instead. You can say toilet every 2 rooms. Let's say 1. Let's say bedroom. Let's say 3. I will copy this. This one can be 6. one can be 4, this one can be, let's say, 5. Now, you know this object now will be sent to this place. So let's retrieve it here. I'll call it anything. I'll call it obj. Oops. So this object will be sent as obj. I can now say obj dot toilet obj dot. Oh, let's use the singular form of all of them. Toilet sum bedroom. So obj dot toilet obj dot sum and obj dot bedroom. So the advantage of this approach is that you don't need to master the other. Bojele and Morocco code will still work fine. Do you understand, sir?
Yes, sir.
So this Morocco code will still work fine. Think about it, toilets are not to still work fine. It will be undefined. Then you can even destructure it here too, so that you won't always say obj. Toilet bedroom. The other does not matter again, not the destruction, so the other does not matter. Since it's an object. Know the curly braces. The curly braces here is because what you are trying to destructure is an object. Like if we curly braces C. Can you array and destruction? This will be a square bracket. Do you get it, sir? Shall I understand?
Yes, sir.
The value of your major king.
Yeah, sir.
Okay. Now, having explained this, let's now talk about class inheritance. Class inheritance. Class inheritance is when a class inherits the properties of another class. We pay one jogun.
Yes.
So let's see how that works. Well, at any building by but let's say we want to have a special type of building. Let's say all buildings have these ones, toilets and bedrooms. Let's say we have these ones. Let's now say we want to have a special type of building. It's actually a building, but if you have some other things still seen, like still be seen in all buildings. Do you get? What you're trying to do is this.
Yes, sir.
We understand that we will need objects, or maybe in our code, we observe that, oh, I will need buildings, and I also need some particular type of buildings. Let me call it, let us call it duplex. Also. So, duplex itself is a type of building. So, I can now say that I want this duplex to inherit everything inside building.
Okay.
So, to do that, how we extend building. Do you get it? So you say class duplex extends building. Show you.
So to first inherit what's in the building before we add one.
Is that?
I said it will first inherit what's in the building before we give it one property.
You understand. You understand. So with that now, duplex we have everything inside building to inherit it. To inherit it. So we can now add another thing. Whatever we had here will be inside duplex, but it will not be inside building. So let's say inside duplex, I want to say maybe living sections or living units. I want it to be 2. So building does not have living units, but duplex, we're saying living units, let it be 2. So I can create an object out of duplex and I can create an object out of buildings. So let's create an object out of duplex. That's a new duplex. That's a new duplex, like this. Now, like I said earlier, duplex has inherited everything inside this, and because of that, it will also inherit the constructor. Do you understand? Building, so my constructor number. So you come here and say you pass your objects. Let's say it's toilet. Let's say for bedroom. Let's say for. Let's now say console log new duplex. So one living unit in here added to it. But if it was to be a new instance of building, that one will not have living units. Duplex will have everything inside building. Building will not have anything inside duplex. Do you understand? Bigger part in the duplex back 1 million. Building will not have a single of them. Just like children inherit parents, not the other way around. Like natural, normal. So this duplex is a child. This is a child class. This is the parent. Building is the parent. Duplex is a child. Shall it testified? Okay. Let's now talk about method overriding. Method overriding. Method overriding is when a method is already in the child, in the parent, and you now have the same method in the child. Do you get it?
Yes.
So let me, for instance, I will come to this duplex and create another method called setBedroom. I'll just make this, let's just say, the one here. Let's remove all of this. And share is hey, I have, or let's say, hey, there are, hey, let's use this, hey, there are how many bedroom? This dot bedroom here. Oh, sorry. So let's say bedroom is 5. This dot bedroom to 5. I just say, hey, there are 5 bedrooms here. Do you get it?
Yes, sir.
So I get, hey, there are 5 bedrooms here. Let's say we have another one inside this place. I'll just copy this. I'll bring it there. Let's say what this one does is, ooh, the bedrooms are 40. A bit ups. Ups. All the this that bedroom. Okay. So when you call on this one, it is ups how the if there are 5 bedrooms, all the 5 bedrooms are 40. So if I come here and say new duplex dot set bedroom, what do you think we will say? Are we going to see this one, or will we see this one? Or will we see both? Or will we see none? Or will we see error?
Can you scroll up, sir? I have to say the first code. Okay, come down. We are going to see oops, all the 5 bedroom are 40.
Are you sure? Oh, I think I caused it. Sorry. Now look at it. We are creating a new instance of building. Yeah.
Yes.
Let me change it to duplex. So what do you think this one will give us?
Okay. And okay. Yes. Oh, all the bedrooms, all the 5 bedrooms are 40.
Exactly. Yeah, all the 5 bedrooms are 40. But let's say it's that of building, we'll say this one. So when a method is in the parent and you have the same method in the child, the one in the child will override the one in the parent. That one is called method overriding. That one is called method overriding. Let's go. Let's move on. Method overriding. Let's bring in our constructor now. See something interesting there. I am the constructor. Now, this one also will override the one in the parent, right?
Yes.
Let's see what happens. Now, it's not working. You have an error. What happens is this. Whenever you have a child class, and the child class has its own constructor, it expects, like Dodo knew, it expects that you must put something that references the parents. I come again. When a child class has its own constructor, to about child basically the new constructor here, you must put a keyword called super that references the parent constructor. All it just needs from you is for you to come here and say, yeah, super, like this. Okay, don't worry, we are coming to solve that. But what it expects from you is for you to add this word super. By adding this word super, this child constructor is referencing the parents. This super refers to the parents class. Do you understand?
Yes.
All the parents is asking from it is just reference me. Bamiloga. So by adding this word super, the child class is referencing the parent so that it can work. Now let's look at the error. Cannot the structure property toilet upon the Let's fix this. The reason you have that error is because you see when you call on this super here, this super will run the constructor in the parent immediately. Do you understand?
Okay.
It will automatically run the constructor in the parent. And because there is nothing here, can be. So there's nothing to the structure here. Do you get it?
Yes.
There's nothing to the structure. Yeah, let's say even code empty objects last even if this is just empty objects. So after that, we add the structure toilet. This one will just be undefined. But we are trying to destructure from undefined. You can't destructure toilet out of undefined. You can't destructure room from undefined. You can't destructure between from undefined. So let's try to make our application work very well. So what happens here is that you see this object is sent to this. So because you are not collecting here, you are not collecting it here, you are not receiving it here, object will come waste that. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
This object is sent to this. So, but because you are not receiving it here, this object is going into waste. So what happens is you can come here and retrieve it. So I can say obj. So this whole object now will be sent as the value of obj. Then I can now send the obj to the parents. So the parents can now receive it, and you can destructure it successfully here. Any question? Let's go right again. This object, since we are calling new instance of duplex, this object is sent as the value of obj. You are sending the obj here to the parents. I told you at this point it's going to call on the parents constructor. So you are passing the obj to it. So this comes here, and you destructure it here, and this will work fine now. So our application will work fine again. Let's make it a bit, let's round it off. Now, this living unit, I also want it to be flexible. I also want to be flexible. So what I can do is I can cut it out, put it here. This dot living unit equals to obj.living units. So now we can pass living units here. So did you get it? No, but we are not done. No, you are passing this whole object as obj, and obj is sending all of it to super. But note, this parent is not using the living unit, right? Building is not using it. So there's no point sending living units here.
To the parents.
So is that?
I said no point sending to parents.
No point. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. There's no point. So let's try to solve that. So we can come here and destructure living units out. Then, what syntax am I using here?
Rest.
Rest. Good. Thank you. Rest. We are taking out living units and we are setting the rest into obj. So obj will not contain living units. Good. So we don't need to, since we've already destructured it out, so this will work fine. Any question? Shani Berry. Okay. So this will be the end of today's class.